So here you are at last. I've been waiting for you. The progress that you have made in training your mind in a systematic way to a new way of looking at yourself and the world has reached the point, very simply, if you've been sharing with my mind this Course in Miracles, that you're going to have to admit to an experience. Remember that a Course in Miracles is an indication of a procedure where you can come to know the truth of universal mind through the change in yours, since your mind represented the split mind, or the idea that there could be separate forms of reality outside of you. I'd like to take, now that this is video number 6, I'm told, that we finished 135, or that is 35, with the idea that God was in your mind and that you are very holy. And we looked at the impossibility of you accepting that within the frame of reference in which you have identified yourself. The correspondent progress you have made in this has simply been your willingness to allow, in the features of the mind training, you individually as a human being to observe yourself without the particulars of the observation. At this point, I'm going to show you the simplicity of what I've really been offering you, and I would like to have you accept it. When I say that the salvation of the world depends on you, I mean that in a literal sense. You are the cause of this world. Remember the last series that we did when we said that you have invented the world that you see, that the particulars of people out there are obviously and inevitably a reflection of your own self? Is that true? What I'm curious about, and you've accepted it fundamentally because the lesson more than implies that when you split your own mind, and this is true of all human beings, they hold in themselves an identity of themselves that does not really correspond to the identity that the world has given them, except in an attempt to find a correspondence that would justify their existence in objective reality. I'm sure that this has been said by a lot of so-called psychologists in a lot of ways. The simple fact of the matter is that if you have invented this world within your own concepts, the you that you identify separately within your own mind and were taught to do as a child by the objectivity of the other you that's out there, can only give you a correspondence in relationship with yourself. And that's what it's given you. What we have attempted to do on this mind training is let your old objective correspondence come into your mind in memory patterns where you will not resist the possibility of an entirety of you. And that's what this mind training has brought about in you. And if it hasn't brought it about in you, what are you doing here? My sole purpose for being here is to show you within your own frame of reference a better reflection of yourself. Are you with me with this? I don't know what you think a so-called advanced teacher is, but it's impossible that by any definition a so-called advanced teacher would not be someone who is coming to know who he is. And it's going to have to be based fundamentally on the admission that he doesn't know who he is. That includes how the world defines him as well as how he defines himself. So the early lessons that you have learned within this Course in Miracles, that no matter how you cognify, no matter how you identify yourself within your own limitations of correspondence, in this subjective association are not true. And that somewhere within you, right there, there's an alternative. There's a moment, okay, where the din of your objective association with yourself, which is all it is, okay, is being replaced, remember in the last video, by the peace that you are discovering in a direct contact with universal mind, in a direct contact with God, one that has always been available to you, but because of the intensity of the light that God offers you, you were getting a reflection of your own fear thoughts. And what would be more frightening to you than the total revealing of what's been going on within your own concepts? These have been the mind training videos that we've been doing, as is our practice now, and this is the only sequence that we actually repeat. We're going to go back and take a look at the fundamental premise involved in this mind training that occurs in Lesson 7, where we say that you see only the past. Let's take a look. I see only the past. This idea is particularly difficult to believe at first, yet it is the rationale for all of the first 6 lessons that we practice and is the beginning point to a step out of time. It is the reason why nothing that you see means anything. It's the reason why you have given everything you see all the meaning that it has. It is the reason why you do not understand anything you see. It's the reason why your thoughts do not mean anything, and why they are like the things that you see, as meaningless as are you. It's the reason why you're never upset for the reason that you think, that it's the reason why you're upset because you see something that is not there, all because you see only the past. Old ideas about time are very difficult to change because everything you believe is rooted in time and depends on your not learning these new ideas about it. Yet that is precisely why you need new ideas about time. This first-time idea is not really so strange at all if you look at it. Look at this cup. Do you see a cup? Or are you merely reviewing your past experience of picking up a cup, being thirsty, drinking from a cup, feeling the rim of a cup against your lips, having breakfast, and so on? Are not your aesthetic reactions to the cup, too, based on past experiences? How else would you know whether or not this kind of cup will break if you drop it? What do you know about this cup except what you learned in the past? You would have no idea what this cup is except for your past learning. Do you then really see it at all? Look about you. This is equally true of whatever you look at. Everything that you see is always over and gone. Each moment, in all of time, you exist in the entirety of this space, here and now. Now let's catch up to some very late time. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see nothing as it is now. My thoughts do not mean anything. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear. God did not create a meaningless world. My thoughts are images that I have made. I have no neutral thoughts. I see no neutral things. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am determined to see. I am determined to see things differently. What I see is a form of vengeance. I can escape from the world I see by giving up my attacked thoughts. I do not perceive my own best interests. I do not know what anything is for. My attacked thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see things differently. God is in everything I see. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. I am not the victim of the world I see. I have invented the world I see. There is another way of looking at the world. I could see peace instead of this, and my mind is part of God's. I am very holy.